Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Francisco Cantu.
And I am Laura Cantu. Thank you so much for joining us today as we discuss some really important information regarding the college admissions process, specifically what's going on with the FAFSA, because there's been some movements, well, maybe not even movements. There's been a lot of things happening in the world of FAFSA. So if you want to go ahead and talk about today's topics.
Right. So if this is your first time joining, welcome. You can let us know in the comments. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. You can let us know if this is your first time watching or if you've watched us in the past and whether you are a parent or a student. That helps with engagement, and then it recommends the video to more people similar to you, people that are going to find this information helpful. It helps us grow. So if you want to do that, that would be great. And yes, today we are talking about the free application for federal student aid. We had been talking over the last few live streams. If this is your first time joining, we do this every week. And in the past few live streams, we've been talking about and sharing the information that the free application for federal student aid, which is a form that it's used to assess the family's financial standing, this form was supposed to go live by December 31st. And in a way it did, and in a way it didn't. This was a special year. Typically, it opens up on October 1st, but because they made a lot of changes, they moved it to December 31st. And they had a soft launch. I believe it was on the 29th, 2 days prior, either the 29th or the 30th. But they did put a disclaimer that the form was going to become available on a soft launch basis. So it was going to progressively become available to different people. However, because of all of the different people that were rushing to complete the form, there were a lot of people, the majority of people saw an error message. And, most people, us included, thought, okay, well, the 30th will come around and it'll get fixed. Okay, the 31st, which is the latest time by which they had to release the form, because the Congress said that they had to have the form out by January 1st. Well, people thought, okay, certainly it's going to be fixed by then. But as of today, even, a lot of people were getting an error message. A lot of people were seeing that the form was under maintenance. So you can let me know in the comments, either Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or Facebook, whether you encountered that problem yourself, whether you've been able to complete the form or not. So today, we are going to be discussing precisely that. It is a FAFSA-centric live stream. So hopefully we share a lot of relevant information that is going to help you out, that is going to be pertinent to your situation. You can ask some questions. And yeah, the next hour is just about providing value to all of you and to hopefully make your experience of helping your kids on the road to college go more smoothly.
Yes, correct. So as we explained, today we are going over the FAFSA. Why did it crash? Why isn't it working? What you can do to maybe help out your situation, because there are people who are able or have been able in the past couple of days, today, to fill out the form. So there are certain things that you could do, I guess, technologically, IT, even though we're not really IT people, but there are certain things that maybe you could do to, with your browser, with your apps, Chrome, Firefox, etc., to maybe be able to fill out this form. We're also going to talk about what documents are required to fill out the FAFSA so that you are ready once it opens. Additionally to that, we are also going to be discussing how to, besides just the FAFSA, what's the most important step of, before even completing the FAFSA, something that might apply more to students who, because the FAFSA is very seniors in high school centric and students who are already in college who have to renew this form. I do want to go over the step that goes before filling out the FAFSA and sending it to colleges, which is one of the biggest tips, one of the biggest things that we do teach students inside of Best College Aid. And we do believe this is the most important part of the process. So I will be going over that. But first, we already kind of talked about the FAFSA. Why don't we go ahead and talk about what happened over the weekend? Because it was very interesting. I did see so many comments. We published a video here on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook on, what was it, Friday?
Yeah, as soon as the soft launch happened, I believe it was the 29th, we immediately, okay, we got to record, we got to bring down the green screen, take screenshots of the release of the announcement, talk about what to expect, because again, that's what we do in this channel. We take information that goes on in the world of college admissions and we try to make it bite-sized and digestible and share it to as many people as possible. So we did that, and within the first 10 minutes, the comment section was flooded with, it's not live, it's not working, why are you lying? So we went ahead and we posted updates, and you can go to your TikTok, Instagram, and you can see those releases. Also, I mean, we're talking about it right now. So immediately people were encountering
Yes.
problems.
Hmm.
So the good thing, though, about this whole situation, if there's anything that we want to look at this as a good thing, we've always talked in this channel about how a lot of the money that gets distributed, that gets allocated, that gets given out through the FAFSA, not all of it, but a lot of it gets distributed on a first come, first serve basis. So it's typically a best practice to go ahead and fill out the form as early as it becomes available. And a lot of people were reaching out to us. A lot of our best college age students were reaching out to us, panicking, worried because they know of this principle saying, oh, am I going to be at a disadvantage? So the good thing about all of this is that it seems to be a problem across the board and that people all across the country are encountering this problem. So they're also at a disadvantage. And as long as you go ahead and complete this form, our students already know that you got to follow the tips that we're going to share in this live stream. But at least that's you have that going for you or not acting against you. So yeah, that's a little bit of a summary as to what happened over the weekend.
Yes. So I did want to say one thing about that too, and that is do not panic. Do not worry if you can't fill out the FAFSA right now. Colleges and universities are fully aware of what is happening. They're fully aware that basically the website crashed, that they had to go under maintenance, and that a lot of students across the United States are not being able to fill out this form. So that's the first thing. I know that we always talk about, and we do get questions about if it's really a myth or if it's real or not, that the FAFSA is first come, first serve. And while federal aid is not necessarily first come first serve, a lot of financial aid that is need based aid from colleges and merit based scholarships does work kind of in a first come first serve basis. It is better if you're applying to a school early, or even if you are just applying regular decision but you submit your form earlier on in the year. We always do recommend to submit that form as early as possible, because colleges do provide and award need on a first come first serve basis. However, since this year things were so different to begin with, and Francisco mentioned it, they had to release the form before the new year, because usually the FAFSA is available on October 1st. So they definitely wanted and needed to release it. They
Right.
needed to put it out there by before 2024, which right now it's 2024, which is crazy. Of course they faced problems. So many people were so eager to fill out this form, hence why we got so many comments, and that video popped off because people were commenting, not liars, but they were like, oh my gosh, it's not working, this video is not true, or I don't know which website you were on. But it literally, I think they did have the intention of having it, roll out
Right.
smoothly. And I think it was kind of hard, and people did freak out. So I do want to say, if you are not able to fill it out due to these problems till maybe the start of this weekend or maybe early next week, it's okay. Colleges do know that. So don't panic. Don't freak out. There are other things you could be working on, things that your student could be doing right now in the meantime to maximize scholarships, to maybe get more financial aid, more private scholarships, maybe work on other college applications if they're submitting some regular decision applications, or maybe look into state scholarships if there are some state scholarship programs available that they might not know about. There are so many other things that you could be doing right now. Now, this does not mean that you should say, all right, I'm not going to fill out the FAFSA. I'm going to wait, 2 months?
No, just do it right now.
Yeah, just do it as soon as it works, as the website is available for you. Fill it out, all right?
I would just recommend checking in a few times a day. Eventually, it's going to open up. And we do have some tips as to what to do to try to get it to open up based on, it's all anecdotal. No studies have come out yet in terms of this is exactly what you need to do. But people have suggested this. There's been success with trying this method. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we can do in order to help, or in order to do something, and not just sit there twiddling our thumbs to see if the form becomes available.
Yes. So these are some more technical tips, I guess. One of the biggest tip is to make sure if you are trying to log into your, FSA ID, your FAFSA profile, make sure that if you're doing it on your phone, that your app, if you're using Safari, Firefox, or Chrome, that those apps are up to date. Sometimes technology coding, I don't know what it is, people try to use certain websites, and if the application's not up to date, they're not going to be able to use it, or it's not going to work properly. So make sure that you are updating those applications. App Store, some people have it set automatically, some people don't even know, and they update their applications maybe once a year. So maybe you could look into that and see if your Safari, if your Chrome, if your Firefox, what's another one?
DuckDuckGo. You
DuckDuck.
also have Microsoft Edge. So all of those, make sure. And on that same note, not only the app itself, making sure that it's updated, but if you want to go into the history and you want to go into the cookies and the browser history, if you go ahead and you clear the cache there, that will also, if there's anything in your cookies that is preventing you from loading the page, get rid of that. So that alone are two ways in which you can make sure that it's not a technical thing that is preventing you, if that is the issue itself. Other than that, other than those two things, anything else that you and David talked about earlier that you think might be beneficial in terms of things that you can do from your end?
Yes, this is the peak times. A lot of websites, when people have to be accessing them, it's kind of like, remember when Game of Thrones, I
Hmm.
know that's a streaming service, but when Game of Thrones would come out and literally the site would crash because so many people were trying to access it and watch it. We have had members of Best College Aid who told us that they were already able to fill it out
Mhm.
because they literally stayed up, or they just happened to do it really late at night or in the middle of the night. So if you get out of work, or if you are in your lunch break, chances are that a lot of people are going to be trying to access the FAFSA form because that's the free time that they get. So definitely try to access it, log in, check in into that website, maybe at a time that's not so conventional, an unconventional time. 12 p.m. is going to be a time that is going to be super packed. People are going to be trying to go on it because that's lunch break.
Mhm.
Maybe when you get out of work here in Florida, people usually get out of work at 5 p.m. People might like start looking in or checking into that website at like 5:30. So trying to check in different times of the day that it's not peak hours that people are going to be accessing and trying to log into that form. That's definitely something, a big tip that we do have for you. So definitely looking to that. I see that David is commenting, and he is in the chat, by the way. If you do have any questions, make sure to check the chat and see if David did answer your questions. And yes, let's see. He's commenting. I don't think we'll post and submit it late. Yes. Make sure, like, just know the FAFSA, if you do submit it late, like a couple of days late, it's
Yeah,
okay.
and the advice or the practice of submitting the form as early as possible. Yes, I already mentioned some of the form becomes available, or some of the money gets distributed on a first come first serve basis. But just to give you all a walkthrough as to what you expect as far as the timeline is, you submit the FAFSA, right, and immediately it will give you something called the SAI, the Student Aid Index. Again, it's all meant to assess the family's financial standing. But then late in January, the colleges and universities in your list are going to see or are going to receive the information from the FAFSA. And a lot of them, yes, some might also require the CSS profile, but for the sake of the FAFSA, a lot of these schools will use the information from the FAFSA to then make decisions about your current standing, and based on their own policies and what percentage of demonstrated financial need they satisfy, they will start crafting each student's financial aid award offers at the institutional level. And then once those come out, they will send them to the students, and then students will be able to accept or reject these offers. Okay, so the earlier that you do this, and typically students who applied in people who completed it when it became available October 1st in previous years, and then they went on through early action or early decision in October, in November, when they got those early acceptances in December, because the universities already had that information, their acceptances came along with their financial aid award packages. This year is a little different because yeah, they might have accepted you, or you might get acceptances in the coming weeks, but they don't have that financial information. So that is why it's important to fill out the form right now so that the colleges do have that information. And once they do have that information, you can go ahead and then they can make those decisions about your current financial standing, your status, and they can offer those awards.
Correct. Yes. And I do want to clarify something because I am seeing some comments, and we saw this question a lot when we were doing our Spanish live stream. And it's very important to clarify and to make sure. We had people comment in the few videos that we posted about this topic saying, oh, I filled out the FAP. My son is a senior and I filled out my FAFSA in October. I filled it out back in September. And September, the FAFSA was not available. Well, the 2024-2025 FAFSA form, which is the one that your student should be filling out if they are a senior, or if they do have to renew that form this upcoming year, because people who have to fill out the FAFSA is seniors in high school who plan to go to college next year, and students who renew it who are going to college for the next year. So basically, freshman year of college, sophomore and junior year are the years that the FAFSA has to be renewed. So make sure that your student and that you are filling out the right form, because for the past couple of months and maybe even now, the 2023-2024 FAFSA form was available on the FAFSA website and people could fill it out, but that is not the right form that you have to fill out. So make sure that you filled out. If you filled that one out, that's not the form that you had to submit if you are a senior or if you do have to renew that form. It has to be 2024, 2025, which unfortunately Francisco is having some issues at the moment and people are not being able to fill it out. Some people have been able to fill it
Right.
out.
I see Salt logo in the comments saying that they were one of the lucky people that were able to go ahead and complete it. So that's great. That's a testament as to everything that we're saying in terms of our piece of advice and in terms of, okay, logging whenever you're not at peak hours or completing the form after clearing your browser and whatnot. Again, that might have not been what he had to do to complete the form, but for those of you who have not been able to, I'm just giving you alternatives as to what you can do, because again, there are people who have been able to fill out the form. We have seen all over the last few days people who have told us, no, I haven't been able to fill it out, as well as people who have told us, yes, I have been able to fill it out. So clearly there is a problem for some people. So we are just wanting to make sure that everyone covers the bases depending on their situation. If you have no problem, that's great. Make sure that you got your SAI number. And then later in January, just make sure you contact the schools to make sure that they received all that information. And for those of you that haven't, well, here's an example of someone who has. So keep on trying and eventually the form will open up for you.
Yes, and I do want to address another question because it is what we're talking about. And we did get a question from Coleman205 saying, will the steps for the third year students, I'm assuming a third year in college, student junior in college, will these steps be more difficult this time around for the renewal? Excellent question. This new FAFSA is a little different than the one you've seen in years prior. So and we have discussed it in the past about these changes. We talked about it last week. The new FAFSA, the only change was not the date changing from October 1st to, I don't even know, December to January 2024. There are some other changes to the form, some things that are going to be different, and definitely things that you need to be aware of. One of the biggest difference is that this form is going to be shorter. There's going to be less questions, which is nicer. The FAFSA before had around 100, more than 100.
Yeah, it used to be back in the day up around 100 questions. Now students, depending, because again, sometimes you open up a question and depending on how you answer it, you'll open up more, but students can answer as little as 18 questions. And the release that they said was that it could take as little as 10 minutes. If I'm not mistaken, one of the comments said that they filled it out in 20 minutes. So yeah, all these changes are meant to simplify the form and to make it, again, go by quicker. And that is one of the big changes, the number of questions. Another very important change is the methodology through which financial standing gets calculated. Before, they calculated for a number called the estimated family contribution. It's exactly what it sounds like. The number that came at the bottom of the FAFSA or after completing the form was meant to be a amount that represents how much your family was expected to contribute towards your education. Now it works somewhat similarly for the new number, which is called the Student Aid Index, but What this number unlocks is more sort of like an insurance marketplace in terms of it will look at the federal poverty line, it will look at your family, how many dependents, it will look where you live, it will look at all this different financial information, your tax returns, your assets, all those different things. And then based on that, we'll put you into a tier as far as the federal Pell Grant, whether you qualify for the full amount, for a partial amount. And then the universities will also take a look at this number and have their own internal policies as far as whether you qualify for other sorts of institutional awards. So that's a little bit of how it works and how it's different than previous years.
Yes, excellent, excellent question. And I do see some questions about what documents are necessary to fill out this form. So now let's move on a little bit towards that information. We're going to discuss the documents that are necessary to fill out the FAFSA form, because I do see some people asking that question. So since right now the form is not available, we will share the documents that you should start to gather ahead of time, so that maybe when the form is available, which should be soon.
Or it might be available at this second. Like, just make sure you consistently are checking.
Yes, it's available to you. You have those documents ready and available to go, so that you can start completing this form. So, Fran, do you want to pull them out and start listing them?
Yes. So first thing that you need to do before you complete the form is make sure that the people who are going to be completing the form or going to be participants of completing the form, students and parents, have something called the FSA ID. The FSA ID is basically your electronic signature, and it's needed to complete the form to make sure that the parent testifies, okay, well, this is my information, I certify this correct. The student does the same thing. So that is one thing. After that, as far as physical documentation, you also need your tax returns. We always teach our students inside Best College Aid. They know this by now. Sharing this with you right now, you should always use the documents, the fiscal documents from 2 years prior. So for the 2024-2025 school cycle, you take that first number, 2024, you subtract 2022. Those are the tax returns you need. So your 2022 tax returns are going to be needed. And now they have an integration that should automate a lot of the populating these boxes and whatnot. Before, it was the IRS data retrieval tool. So that will make it easier for you, but we still recommend that you have those documents just so that you can verify that everything's correct. So yes, those are your federal income tax returns. Now, if you have other sorts of untaxed income, and what I mean by untaxed income is maybe you are a parent who is in a situation in which the student is getting, for example, child support. That is something that has to be reported. So untaxed income, or also if there are other sorts of assets, if you have assets, like investments or retirement accounts, you should have information on those assets so that you can go ahead and report it on the appropriate sections of the form that require it. And finally, if you don't have this already, which you should, at least our Best College Aid students know that this is probably the most important part of the whole college application process. And in a minute later on, we'll talk about Best College Aid, what it includes, what we teach our students, and everything of how it works, and you can learn more. But if you don't have this already, the list, and it should be a carefully crafted list that is made up of strict criteria that satisfies the academics, so what the student wants to study, and the financial needs, so how generous the school is. The student should have a list of all the universities that either they have already applied to or plan to continue to apply to if they have not done this yet, so that the information, once it's completed, once you get your student aid index, once you get done with the form, the information can be then automatically sent to the school, and then the institution can make those decisions as far as how much awards they're going to give the student. So super, super important if you have not done this already to make the perfect list of colleges. Again, it is one of the most important things we teach our students, because if you don't have the proper list of colleges in terms of academics, you're either going to end up not studying what you want to study, and you're either drop out, or you're going to major in something you don't care about, or you're going to transfer, but that's going to waste you time and money. Or let's say that it satisfies that, but you were not strict enough in your financial criteria, and you applied to just any school, and it could be a school that is not known for satisfying a good amount of the demonstrated financial need of the household, because again, as was mentioned extensively, not all schools are equally as generous. Well, if you happen to apply to one of those schools that is not that generous, and yeah, maybe they offer what you want to study, maybe they don't, but that's where your friends went, that was convenient for you, you might end up sending this information to the FAFSA to a school that, yeah, maybe you're accepted, but you're going to have to go into a long time of debt, unnecessary debt, because you did not look at what was the responsible or the proper option based on your current situation. So having that list of colleges, super, super important. I know I went into a roundabout way because at the end of the day, as far as documents, okay, well, you just need the list, but I just want to take an opportunity to mention the importance of having a proper list of colleges, because at the end of the day, what Best College Ed is all about is understanding the two pillars of the college application process: applying to the proper schools, to schools that will allow you to study what you want to study, because it shouldn't be just go to college for going to college. It should be to pursue something. And ideally, that's what you want to do for a living. And then the financial aspect of it. And you cannot qualify for a lot of different sorts of money from the federal government, institutional awards, some state awards, even if you do not fill out the form in time. So hopefully this provides value in terms of both of those components, the academic and the financial aspect.
Yes, it's like Francisco said, creating, honestly, personally, I believe that creating that list of colleges is the most important part, or the most important part of the process when it comes to the college admissions and the college application process, because creating a list of colleges is what is going to help your student find the right university, the right college for them, because every student is different. Every student is looking for different things. Every student practices different extracurriculars. Maybe your student, you have two children that one of them is more artistic and they are into theater and they want to be near Broadway. And you have another student that loves the beach and they are a football player and wants to go to UM and maybe pursue football and be part of the football team. Maybe it's going to be better for them to be in a school that's in Miami. And if your student wants to be near New York, maybe they can go to or apply to NYU or schools in New York City, Pace University. Other schools. Well, Marist is not in the city, but it's close to the city. There's a bunch of colleges that are in New York City, in Boston, that are literally inside of a city. And some students look for that. Some students want to be in college towns. So creating a college list is what's going to help your student find the right university for them, that offers the majors, that offers the right scholarship, the right financial aid packages that they are looking for, colleges that offers the extracurriculars that they want to continue to pursue. There are students who are literally like professional video game players, and there's colleges that have esports leagues and who give out scholarships for students who want to play video games in college and compete in the esports collegiate level leagues. So that's a scholarship opportunity that some colleges have to offer for students. So that's why creating a list of colleges is so important. And we did want to mention this because this is something that should happen. Creating that list and looking for scholarships, it should happen even before you fill out the FAFSA. That's like, we do recommend students start working on that list since freshman year, and to really start thinking what they want, where they want to be, what they want to study, and really incorporate the how much does this school cost, how generous are they, and is it like based on your family's finances, can you afford this institution? And all of this is part of that creating a list of colleges process. Now, we do go over this in more depth in our free training that we have for you about the top secrets to go to college with scholarships. If you are completely confused, if you don't really know what we're talking about, or if you haven't really started that college application process or even thinking about it, or you're just new to our channel, we have a free training where Francisco discusses a lot of information, a lot of tips pertaining to the college admissions process. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, the link is in this video's description, and David is going to do me the favor of sharing it down in the comments section so that you can register. It's a free training, a free resource that we have for you. And if you are watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Instagram, or if you're watching on TikTok, you can go to the link in our bio and you can register for that free training. A lot of resources. We talk about the different types of financial aid, how to apply for those types of financial aid, because there's institutional aid, there's state aid, there is federal aid, which is all this FAFSA nonsense that we are talking about today, which hopefully is not nonsense after this and after the past few weeks of content that we've been publishing. State, institutional, federal, and private aid, which right now well, the FAFSA is down, maybe it's not working. It might not be a bad idea to start or to keep working on applying and looking for private scholarship opportunities, right? Students who are probably freshmen, or parents of students who are in middle school, freshmen, sophomore, junior, who might be watching this and they're like, okay, like the FAFSA, I don't have, because you don't have to worry about the FAFSA until senior year. Of course, it's good that you're here and you're learning about this and starting to get an idea of what you will need eventually, but creating a list of colleges, applying to private scholarships, looking at those state scholarship opportunities that might be available to you based on the state that you live in. All those are all things that you could be working on right now at the moment. So make sure that you are working on those. Make sure to check out that free training that we have for you, because it could definitely help you out. No matter if you are you are in middle school, if you are in high school, just out of high school, it's information that is going to be helpful for people in different stages of the process. So I hope you can register. Again, Instagram, you can register in the link in our bio. It's completely free to register. And if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, the link is in this video's description, and David is going to share it down in the comment section so that you can check out that free training and that you can register.
Correct. And people sometimes ask us, what is the difference between that free presentation and these live shows that we do? So basically, for these live shows, we're talking about a very particular topic. Today, we've gone in depth on the FAFSA. But there are people who either are lost in terms of the bird's eye view of how the process works. People who, okay, I learned a thing or two about the FAFSA, but now I want to learn about college essays or the application itself, or I want to learn how to boost acceptance odds, how to contact the person from admissions that's respective to my region, my regional admissions officer. All those different components that make up the entire landscape, not just one particular aspect of it, are what we included in that training. Again, as Laura mentioned, completely free to register. In the spirit of complete transparency, at the last 15 minutes of the training, we talk about our full paid program, Best College Aid, for those of you who are interested in something more personalized. Because again, 80% of what we do in Best College Aid is free content, is information that we want to take and provide for you, to provide as much value as possible, as we have been doing for the last 22, 30 minutes that we've been live for. However, there are people that always flood our DMs and ask us if we include something that's more personalized. We say we have another free thing, which is the live presentation. And again, just like we have been providing information over the last 30 minutes, we do that in that free training. And then if beyond that, people want even more advising, support, help, guidance through the process, that's where we have our Best College Aid membership. That, again, it's the last 15 minutes of a presentation that is 120 minutes. So go check that out. Worst comes to worst, you get a lot of value and that you can share with your student that can help you all out. So that is, again, link in our bio or the description of this video if you are watching on YouTube and Facebook.
Yes. Now let's move on to the answer questions portion of the presentation, because we did receive lots of questions throughout this weekend, and we do have some questions from people watching. So we do want to answer those questions. We might not get to all of them, but there are a lot of repeats. There's a lot of people who are asking similar questions. So it's good sometimes. I think it's so cool that in live streams, I will read a question and then I'll scroll down to maybe answer another one, and it's the same one. So I'm like, okay, cool. If people were watching, they can see that their question was answered. So definitely pay attention because we might answer a question that you might have or that you already asked.
Or that you didn't even know that you had.
Exactly. So let's check out some of the questions.
And if you see Laura or me squinting and looking confused and even angry, it's not because we're angry, it's just we're both very, very blind, wearing contacts, and we have monitors right in front of us where we see the letters and the screen and everything, but it's very, very small. So just know that that's the face that we're making. We're trying to read.
Yes, I caught myself earlier. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, the camera's on.
I hope people don't think that we're angry or
like
something. We're just blind.
Stank face. No, I just can't see. I literally have, my vision is so bad. I have, I think my prescription in one eye is like 7, like -7, and the other one is like,
just get a whole new eye at that point. Just
no, it's really bad. I've been wearing contacts since I was, I think, like 9 years old. So yeah, If you do see me squinting, that's the reason. Alrighty, so let me scroll up and answer so we can go ahead and answer some of your questions. And
So Madeline says, I have or I saw a recommendation to wait a few days or so that the bugs can get worked out. Do you agree? As long as the form gets completed, I mean, the bugs that we've seen are bugs that prevent people from accessing the form. Once you access the form, I haven't seen any reports of the data that you input being altered, affected, or in any way transformed from what the colleges will see. So what I say is go ahead and complete it if you get a chance, if you've been checking and it becomes available for you to where it says log into my FSA ID and that button is blue instead of gray. I would just say to go ahead and complete it. And if you just want to be extra careful, as I mentioned earlier, wait till the end of the month. That is when the information from the FAFSA will be sent over from the federal government to the institutions. Call them up. Be like, hey, specific university A, specific university B, call them their name, don't say A or B, and tell them, hey, did you receive all the information from the FAFSA, from the federal government? Is there anything you need, any additional documentation, anything else I can provide to facilitate this process? And that will be your safest way of making sure that you submit it early, but that everything also is submitted properly and there's no problem there. That's my recommendation.
All right, excellent question. And if you do wait, like for whatever circumstance, not wait, but maybe you just give it 1 day or two, again, it's going to be okay. You don't have to fill it out right away. I would recommend doing it, but if you don't get to fill it out till Friday because of these issues that are happening, it's going to be okay. Definitely also don't wait months and months because then that could affect it. But it's okay if you're not able to fill it out right away because, again, colleges do know this issue is happening. And who knows when it's going to get fully resolved. Alrighty, so why don't we go ahead and answer this question from Sindeli, who is asking, can college students, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, etc., still fill out the FAFSA even if they haven't filled it out before? Should they do it or can they only fill it out when they're high school seniors? Excellent question. And the answer is if the student qualifies for the FAFSA and they just didn't fill it out during their senior year of high school or maybe in the first couple of years of college, they should still and they could still fill it out as long as the student is a resident of the United States, a citizen of the United States, or an eligible non-US citizen, and they have a right to fill out the FAFSA. They qualify basically. They should fill it out. And that's an excellent question. A lot of people think that because they just never filled it out that they can't fill it out, maybe their senior year of college, but you should always fill it out, always renew it. Please, we do get people who say, like, I forgot to send out the FAFSA during my, freshman year of college because I didn't know. So I guess this is your reminder to let you know that, yes, you can, if you qualify, you should definitely try to fill it out, even if you've never filled it out before. And that you have to renew it every year, basically.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah. Go ahead.
Which also brings me to another point real quick. Something a comment that we saw. I don't know if you saw the comments because we get these a lot. People say, my cousin or my nephew didn't qualify for the FAFSA because, they just didn't get any money. They just didn't receive any federal aid, but they were citizens or they are residents. They do qualify for the FAFSA, but they just didn't get any federal aid. And they say it's not worth it.
Well, my favorite is at least those comments. They add some context and they elaborate as to why they believe what they believe. But there are sometimes that we see comments that are just scam, fraud, don't do this, steal your information, and they don't add any additional comment. And it's that and then like 17 emojis. So yes, I have seen those comments. To that, the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, yes, it assesses financial need. And there are things like the Pell Grant or like federal work study that will be offered to students based on their financial need. However, a lot of institutional awards from the schools themselves, or even some state-based programs, some state scholarships that are given based on merit. So the student having good grades, the student having above a certain GPA, performing a certain way in the SAT or ACT. Those are merit-based awards that have nothing to do with your family's finances. But the requirement, or one of the caveats, is you are not going to be eligible to receive these awards unless you fill out the FAFSA. So if you qualify for those and you operate under the mentality of scam plus 17 emojis, and you don't fill it out because you think you're going to not get any need-based awards, then you will be self-disqualifying from merit-based awards that have nothing to do with your family's finances and everything to do with your academic prowess and merit. Okay, so just keep that in mind, because the last thing that we want is for you to have money that you're eligible to receive, but because of a lack of information or because of a combination of characters and emojis, you follow the wrong advice and you don't go ahead and complete the form.
Yes, so very important things that we did want to clarify and we did want to go over. All right, Ms. Davalos is commenting, asking us the following question. We completed the FAFSA and it said that we didn't qualify for federal Pell grants and our SAI was 15,000. Does that mean that we don't qualify for any financial aid? Is student loans the only option? That is an excellent question. I do want to clarify something about the FAFSA and a common misconception that a lot of people do have. People think that the FAFSA is the only type of financial aid, and if they don't receive any federal aid after completing it or Pell grants, that's it. It wasn't worth it, or that's the only way to get financial
Scam, 17 emojis.
Exactly. But remember, the FAFSA is just one of the 4 types of financial aid and scholarships available, and this form is used by a lot of colleges and universities to award institutional aid based on academic merit, extracurricular merit, or also need-based aid from institutional aid, so from colleges and universities. So even if your student didn't qualify for the federal Pell Grant, don't think that this information, that the schools that they are applying to are not going to be needing the FAFSA and are not going to be using it. Maybe if your student does a sport, if they have good grades, they could still qualify and they could still receive institutional aid and scholarships, and the schools will look at the FAFSA in order to award this. So this is also a tip for parents watching this. Don't think that because maybe you make too much money or you are an only child, both parents works, whatever the case may be, that you shouldn't fill it out, because schools do require this form to award financial aid and scholarships. Some state programs also use the FAFSA to award some of these scholarships, some of these financial aid awards, and even some private scholarships require the FAFSA. So it's important to fill it out and to definitely, look into that, and no, loans are not the only option.
And it's also important to note, this is not a guarantee that, okay, if you fill it out, you're automatically going to get money. But it is so much of a better approach and so much of a better scenario to complete it and not get any money and at least say, okay, I completed everything that I should have completed, than to have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, whatever amount of money available and offered to you, but to leave it on the table because you did not complete the form. Or even if it comes to the worst case scenario and you have to take out loans and you are in a position in which you have to take out loans, it is so much better to take out whatever you need or less than what you need and then work through college, but to do it through a federal subsidized loan. And when they're subsidized, the government takes care of interest while you're in college, so it doesn't accrue on the principal as you're studying. When there are all these forgiveness programs that the federal government sets in place, whether it was like the COVID forgiveness or whatever happens in the future with the SAFE plan, or if they do debt forgiveness, those are going to favor federal loans infinitely more so than private loans. So even in that worst case scenario, there are levels to this in terms of what you should be getting or what is the more responsible loan to get out. So that's just something that I wanted to add on top of everything that you shared.
Perfect. So I hope that those answers helped you out. I hope that we were able to answer some of your questions. I know that David was also in the chat answering a lot of your comments. So I just wanted to take the time to answer some of the questions that were being asked. And, also I want to let you know that we do encourage you to follow us in all of our social media accounts because we go live every week here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and we don't want you to miss out on the information because there are things that we can post on Instagram that we can't post on YouTube, like stories, and vice versa. It's easier to post a link on Facebook than it is to do it on Instagram unless it's a story. So we do encourage you to follow us in all of our social media platforms. We encourage you to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. If you are watching this on YouTube and if you're not subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe. We are planning to go do more live shows like these and provide you with more information. Give it a like. We do live streams, we do shows every week with important information. We're going to be uploading more content. That was our New Year's resolution for 2024, to upload more content and to provide you with more information. Also, if you haven't done so already, I want to remind you again, make sure to check out, to register to our free training. Francisco, you worked really, really hard on it. You explain a lot of information that is relevant, that it's important, and we answer a lot of frequently asked questions in that free training. So make sure that you register. If you're watching us on YouTube and Facebook, you can watch this by checking out the link in the comments section or in this video's description. And you can also register if you're watching this on Instagram and TikTok in the link in our bio. It's free training filled with important information that can be very, very helpful to you and your family. So make sure to check it out. Make sure to subscribe because we do want to share information with you. And
we're not saying it. Salt Logo in the comments is the one who's saying that you should like and subscribe. So thank you so much. I appreciate that comment. We work really hard on gathering the latest documentation. Literally before we start these live shows, we Google everything that we're going to say to make sure that there's no changes, and if there are, that we mention them. So thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, for engaging, for accompanying us on these talks, really, because they truly are what they are. We're talking and hopefully providing some value. And again, we're going to be live next week. Thank you so much, everyone, for everything. Check out the free presentation if you're inclined to do so. And if not, we continue to see you on social media. Thank you so much, y'all, and happy start of 2024.
Yes, have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you around.
Take care, y'all.
See you later.